Our piece was a psychological thriller, so what we wanted to do was mess with the audience. So we utilised a lot of conventions to do this, but also we decided to challenge some to throw them off a bit. Our first scene shows a lonely country path. We play sad, sort of minor key but fast-paced music, which adds to the dangerous feeling of this isolated place. Places like this are often used in psychological thriller to play off of the human fear of loneliness. We're then shown the male protagonist sitting with his head in his hands. For this part, we use the same fast-paced music along with the handheld camera technique and candid angles to create a shaky, tilted frame which feels very unnatural, very disorientating to the viewer, and hopefully makes quite an uncomfortable viewing. Straight after this very extreme scene, we see a very happy scene of the male and female protagonists walking down the country path, hand in hand, very happy. This is common in psychological thriller. It's a way of sort of playing with the audience's emotions, making them double guess everything they've seen, but normally the same sort of sad or panic music would be played over the top in order to keep reminding the audience that not everything is what it seems. In contrast to this, we chose to play happy music. We thought that this would completely remove the viewer from what they've seen previously. Forget about it, or assume that it's over and done with, leaving them completely unprepared for what would happen next. We see the male protagonist confess to the female protagonist that he feels like they were made for each other. This sort of adds a feeling of dependency and vulnerability to his character, which is not common in male characters. And by challenging this convention, what we wanted to do is amplify the emotion that's there in the statement, because it's so unusual to the audience to see a male with this form of emotion, which hopefully increases the impact of what happens later on. His vulnerability is also extended when we see the female protagonist going towards a cat in a bush, and him saying that he doesn't like when normally do the other way around. The female's more likely to be the one who's scared, and the male's more likely to be the one who's investigating. As well as this, the cat is a commonly used omen for bad things about to happen. We use a very common convention next, which is short takes. We cut very quickly, several times in a few seconds, between the female protagonist crossing the road and the car approaching. This makes it exceedingly clear what's about to happen. Everyone can tell. Now, at this point, the audience is just waiting. This builds a great deal of tension. They know what's going to happen. They're just asking when, and they're asking what will the outcome be. Eventually, it happens. There's the car crash, and the male protagonist runs over to the female's body. We use all the conventions we possibly can in this scene to try and portray the distress and the sadness of the scene. We use candid angles, handheld camera, sad music, slight blur to sort of add to the confusion and give sort of a teary effect to the filming. However, we use quite slow-paced music, unlike the panicked music you might expect after something like a car crash. The reason we chose to do this is that the panic music is more likely to create questions, such as, is she still alive? Is the driver going to stop? Is everything going to be fine? Instead of this, the completely sad music makes it very definite what's happened.
she has died and he is sad about it. It's final. There's nothing to do. This is not something that's often done in psychological thriller. Psychological thriller likes to mess with you, but we wanted to make this certain and pure to completely set the audience up for what's going to happen in the end. Before the pinnacle scene, we see the male protagonist running away. We shoot this from a low angle. The low angle makes the audience feel powerless. This is exactly what we want to achieve. The audience can't do anything about this. They've seen the sadness, they've seen the hurt, but they have absolutely no control. However, normally, low angles depict a character who is in power over everything, but this angle is depicting the male protagonist running away. He's escaping. He doesn't want to be there anymore because he doesn't have any power either. So this is a completely hopeless situation. It's exactly what we want to portray. And finally, the pinnacle scene. We see the female and male protagonists coming together again after her death, after all this has happened. We shoot this in the dark because the dark adds an air of mystery, the unknown. That's very commonly used. We only see the back of the female protagonist's head at this point. Not showing the face is commonly used to add mystery around a character, but normally it's when you don't know anything about the character, not when you've already been introduced, when they've already had a whole plot. But at this point, it's almost as if everything the audience has seen so far, they've got to unknow it. She's a mystery again because she was supposed to be dead and now she's not. There's a whole load of new questions as to why she's there. So our aim with only showing the back of her head was to completely destroy everything that the audience knows about this character and make them question her again. Finally, we show an extreme close-up of the male protagonist's face and his confusion. The extreme close-up is commonly used to make the audience really engage with the emotion, especially in psychological thrillers. The emotion is what we really want the audience to feel, and especially emotions like this, the inquisitive emotions. So at the end of our piece, what the audience is left with is all of the questions that could possibly be on the male protagonist's mind.